Welcome to Six Count. I'm your host, Zara Wild, bringing you the jazz and swing scene from the Capital Region. Tyler, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'd like to talk about the many different bands that you're a part of, but first will you share what instrument you play?
Absolutely. Well, I play a couple instruments. I play piano and valve trombone. I've been playing piano since I was 7. And trombone, I played trumpet before I got into trombone, and I started playing trumpet in 3rd grade, and then I got into trombone when I was in high school, I think. And I've been playing them ever since.
Very cool. And I know that you play with your brother Nate a lot.
Yep.
So how long have you guys been playing together, or is it something that you've grown up doing?
We kind of grew up doing it. I mean, when we were younger, it was more like, like playing games outside kind of playing. But we've been playing music together since probably we were in like middle school or high school, and we've been doing it professionally probably around high school time. And it's one of those things, we kind of grew up in the same house. We come from a family of musicians as well, and so like we heard a lot of the same music, and it makes it really easy to play with him because there's a lot of, like, I almost know what he's going to play next when we're working stuff out, and like same thing with him. And it's sometimes it's hilarious how similarly we think when we're on the bandstand and when we're playing something.
Yeah, I think of when I see musicians communicating with one another with just a look or with saying we're going to break down the song. I can only imagine with a brother who you know
It doesn't even
very
take
well.
a look. It just takes oh, this should go here thought in my brain, and he's already playing the idea. It's wild. We have this joke about, like cloud space on the internet. We have this joke about like how we have cloud brain that we both have access to and can like pull from at any time. It's kind of a silly joke, but it's true. Like we kind of just think in the same way. It's a lot of fun.
Like most technology, sounds very convenient but also terrifying.
Well, yeah, it is. It's terrifying, but in a kind of hilarious way when it's like, there have been a few times where we'll be playing something and we'll just play the exact same thing and we'll just start laughing. It's hilarious. It's fun. We have a good time.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I know you play with Mike Jenkins and the Fat Ties at
Although
Speakeasy
nobody wears
518.
ties to that gig anymore.
And it's just over, you have a tip bowl. It looks like a giant fish bowl and it has ties
Yeah,
wrapped
he's got
around.
ties. Well, it used to be, when the first time I played that with him, he's like, you have to wear the fattest tie you have, which I don't have any fat ties. I have like normal ties.
It's like an average
and
tie.
And then like a couple of skinny ties. And I was like, I was wearing one. He's like, that's not fat. I was like, dude, this is the fattest one I have. But yeah, now nobody wears them anymore. But there's always a few ties laying around. So, but yeah, I've been playing with Mike for a few years now, and he's a riot. It's so much fun playing with him. He's always a good, entertainer. He's a great singer and bass player, and really knows how to work a crowd, which is a whole different skill set in my opinion. That's really hard to do, and he's great at it. So
very neat. So I actually heard from Skip Parsons. I was talking with him earlier this morning, and he said that you had a grandfather who's a pianist?
I do, yes. George Giroux. He's still alive. He's like 85 now, I think. And he was a jazz pianist his whole life, really. I think he started when he was 7. And he started playing gigs with my great-grandfather when he was 9. My great-grandfather was a farmer, and they would go, and a fiddle player, and they would go and play at like the square dances. And he played all through his career. He was a teacher as well. And he was definitely, like, especially as a pianist, was one of my like earliest influences. Just, I never really took lessons with him. It was the kind of thing where I was just hearing him all the time and would go and watch over his shoulder and try to figure out what he was doing. And he doesn't gig anymore, but he still plays out. I was actually at his house yesterday playing some tunes with him, and he still like knows more tunes than me and can play them in any key, and it's great. It was really a good environment to grow up in, especially as a pianist, because he'd spent a lot of time playing in trios and playing by himself, so like he really knows all the different styles well of playing like piano in a jazz setting.
It sounds like you've got a lot of great early influences, and then you've also had quite impressive educational career, getting a bachelor's in music education from Crane School of Music at SUNY Potsdam, and then a master's in jazz performance at Frost School of Music at the University of Miami. Did you have any particular influences that really put you on your path professionally as a musician from either of those two schools?
Absolutely. A couple people. At Potsdam, where I did my bachelor's, there's the guy who runs the jazz department up there, Brett Svacek, was a really big influence on me. I took like all his classes, I played in his ensembles, and he was the jazz guy up there, so I was trying to get as much out of him as I could, and he was really good about giving me some great opportunities, and he's an extremely knowledgeable musician and educator, so he was just a really great guy to be around. He kind of showed me, he was the one who introduced me to the music of Thad Jones and Mel Lewis, which is, they were a big band, which there's actually a legacy band, the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra, that's still around, that kind of plays their music, and we played a lot of their music in jazz ensemble, and that was one of the first things I remember him showing me was that group. I was like, man, this is some music here, and so he was a big influence. I had another teacher there, Dr. Charles Guy. He was I was a euphonium major there, which is like a little mini tuba for anyone that doesn't know. And he was
a mini tuba. That sounds oxymoronic.
It does a little bit, yeah. It's like it's still you know what a baritone is?
Yes.
It's like that. That's what it is. It's most people. There's actually a difference between the two, but most people know baritone and not euphonium. But anyways, he kind of helped me. Like I said, I played trumpet growing up, and he kind of helped me figure out how to play a low brass instrument. So that was a really, and he's another phenomenal teacher too. And then when I was at Miami, I had my trombone teacher there, Dante Luciani. He was a really great influence and just kind of showed me a lot about the trombone that I didn't know, like the actual instrument. And then I got to play in an ensemble that was directed by Brian Lynch, who's a well-known jazz and Latin jazz trumpeter. And that was also it was probably the hardest music I've ever had to play. It was a blast to play, but it really kind of forced me to get things in gear practicing wise, and he also he's played with a lot of really well-known jazz musicians. He's played with Horace Silver and Art Blakey, and he played with Eddie Palmieri, still plays with Eddie Palmieri, and so it's like getting it directly from the source, which is always the best way to get it, is like someone who was there. So those would probably, of all the teachers I've had, those four would be the standouts as to people who really hit me to something that I needed to know. I mean, everyone was great. I had a lot of great teachers, but those four, especially in college, were the ones.
And I see that you play with a Latin orchestra now.
I do, yep.
Would you say that swing music or jazz music that people can swing dance to would be your first love, and then Latin comes, or how would you kind of think about them?
I think jazz has always been my first love, if you will. Although I guess I was into classic rock before I was ever into jazz. But jazz is really where my heart's at. But I was first introduced to salsa music in Potsdam, and then of course quite a bit in Miami. There's a lot of Cuban culture down there, and I fell in love with it immediately. It's very different in a lot of ways, but it's the kind of music where I can't help but be in a good mood when I'm playing it or listening to it, and it's just a lot of fun, and I play with Alex Torres' band, and it's just a great group of guys, really phenomenal music. A lot of it's original music that Alex wrote, and it's a great musicians, great people. Alex is one of the greatest guys. Like, he has us over for rehearsals and he cooks for us every time, and he's Puerto Rican. And he makes really good Puerto Rican food, and he always home cooks it for us, and he'll tell you how much I love his cooking because I don't stop telling him either. But it's I would definitely say jazz is where my heart's at, but that kind of music is also very important to me, and I love playing it. It's a very close race for sure.
As someone who plays in the Capital Region, I'm interested in hearing your take on the scene. And are you pleased with the types of performance opportunities there are and the kinds of venues that we have?
You know, I am. I think that the thing that the Capital Region has is, you know, like if you were to compare it to say like New York City, there's of course a lot of great music down there. The best in terms of jazz, it's where the best jazz in the world is. But there's also a ton of musicians, so there's not always a great balance between number of musicians and places to play. Whereas up here, there's a lot of great musicians, but there's the right balance of like musicians to places to go out and perform.
You're not fighting to the death to get.
Exactly, yeah. There's not, and I don't know if this is a cause and effect thing, but as a result, like everyone is very friendly on this music scene. That's probably the best part about it, is that there's not really a lot of that kind of vibey culture that you get sometimes in a music scene.
Among the musicians themselves.
Among the musicians themselves, yeah. There's really none of that. Everyone's very supportive of each other. Just last night I was out at the Speakeasy, and my brother was playing, and I was walked in, and it's like all my friends are up there playing.
Wow.
It's like, how cool is this? I walk out to go see music, and it's all people I like, get to hang out with all the time, and that's the other thing too, is everyone's like friends with each other. So there's a lot of in addition to playing, there's a lot of hanging out, which is also very important, because a lot of discussion and that kind of thing happens off the bandstand, and that's where sometimes ideas start, and so it's helpful to not have it be it's the right balance, I guess, is what it comes down to. And also, I grew up around here. I grew up in Burnt Hills, so for me, it's nice. It feels like home. I live in Troy now, but I grew up there, and my parents still live up there, so I go up there frequently, and it's comfortable to me, and I like, I'm not a city dweller, so like the little pocket cities around here are like just the right size for me, whereas like living in a big city would be more intimidating, obviously. But I would say overall, I think that the scene is great. There's a lot of good venues. It'd be nice if there were a few more listening rooms, but there are some good ones though, especially up in Saratoga. Actually has Cafe Lena, and Spring Street Gallery's been doing a lot of cool stuff lately. And so I really like it here. I don't see I have nothing that's drawing me away from it at this point. Like I kind of feel settled and feel like it's any musician who's looking for a home, it's a good place to consider. So
yeah, it seems like so much of the communication or the quality of the music depends on the quality of the communication between the artists who are playing, because otherwise I would think it'd be difficult to continue improvising and know when it's time and what kind of idea you're working on reaching together.
Right. Well, and there's, especially with improvised music, obviously it's very spontaneous, but there's also a standard set of repertoire that we draw from, and whenever I'm teaching someone to improvise, I tell them it's not really like you have no rules. It's more like guidelines. Oh, it's from like Pirates of the Caribbean. What's the line? They're more like guidelines than actual rules. It's like there are certain things that we do, but there's also, of course, a lot of room for creativity. So communication is important, whether it's actual talking communication or just being aware of what's going on and listening and trying to play with the musicians in the room that you're playing with. It's easy to get in your own head and not be paying attention to what's going on around you. So
right.
There's a lot of that is important, for improvised music, but really any kind of music, in my opinion.
We'll be right back with Six Count. I'm your host, Zara Wild. Stay with us. We'd like to thank Giants of Jazz Radio, based in Lancashire, England, for airing this show. The station brings you the best in classic jazz, playing tracks from the 1940s through the 70s. You can support the station by visiting their website at giantsofjazzradio.co.uk and clicking donate. And now, back to the show. So you play music, but you also teach, and so
I do.
were you inspired to teach from going to school, or how much would you consider playing a hobby or profession, or how do you balance the different types of
Well, it's really
outlets?
all kind of profession for me. I mean, I love it, but it's being a freelance musician, most people don't just play. There's usually, because it's just unless you're Beyonce, it's like impossible to make a living doing that. So most
It's a
people,
high bar.
exactly, and good luck getting to that level. But that's not the point, though. For me, playing has always been kind of my first love, and I started. I have an ed degree, but I knew I didn't really want to go into public school teaching. I didn't think that was for me, but I started teaching private lessons just to help make some extra money when I first got out of college, and I just kind of fell into it. I especially got into teaching piano lessons because everybody wants to learn how to play the piano. And so I started doing that. And at first I was kind of indifferent to it, but I'm finding like in the last year or so especially that I'm really enjoying it. For one thing, it's like a nice break from, I'm mostly teaching beginners, so it's more rudimentary stuff, but it's a nice break. And it's also forced me to really look at like my own technique and my own way of playing the instrument, because when I'm modeling something for a student, I want it to look as close to perfect as you can be. So it's forced me to like really put myself in check in that way. So I feel that it actually makes me become a better musician too. And so I'm starting to like it. And also like working with younger kids, you get a lot of funny stories out of that too. So I can't complain. It's one of those things that I wasn't excited about at first, but now I'm like, oh, what's going to happen today? What's Benjamin going to say to me today that's going to make me laugh?
So there's the musicians that we all know of, but then there's also, I'm wondering if there's any that have influenced you that perhaps the average jazz fan, there is no average jazz fan, but perhaps are lesser known.
I would say some of the biggest influences on me personally have been, Bob Brookmeyer comes to mind. Was a valve trombonist and a phenomenal composer too. And I actually got into him when I first switched to trombone. When I first started playing valve trombone, I was like not really into it. And then I think it was my brother actually showed me a recording of Brookmeyer, and I was like, okay, I can do this. This is cool. And he has been a huge influence on me as a player. As far as other jazz musicians, Brad Meldau has been a huge inspiration for me too. He's pretty well known. Most jazz fans would know who he is. There's a bass player by the name of Ben Allison, who's another guy who Brad Meldau's still alive too, and Ben is still alive, and he has been a huge influence on me. He's especially his compositions. He's one of my favorite writers to listen to, and I first discovered him when I was in college too. And he is, if you're a jazz musician, you might know him, but he's definitely not as well known as some of the other guys. Although he's had a lot of success, and he's a phenomenal player. Other than that, I'm trying to think of like what I listened to this week, because that's usually a good bet of like what I've been checking out. But those have been, I would say, probably the main influences. I mean, there's tons. Chet Baker, Clifford Brown are two trumpet players who I love, but most people know who they are too. I didn't get into Clifford Brown until I was a little bit older, but he's definitely been a huge influence too. But yeah, there's so many. It's hard to keep track of, and it's hard to listen to them all. Like, there's plenty of jazz musicians out there that I should have checked out, but I haven't yet. So
It's a good problem to have.
it's like Pandora's box. It's pretty wild.
And I forgot to ask earlier, what are your weekly or monthly gigs that you'd want to plug?
Oh, well, I'm at the Speakeasy every second Friday.
And some Saturdays, right?
And some Saturdays. Matt Nabalski's and Stephen Kirsty have a band. They play there every fourth Saturday. And then I'm actually there with Mike Jenkins frequently for swing night. We've got a couple coming up. Thursday evenings from 8 to 11 with a free swing dance lesson at 9. I play at the casino with Janine every first Friday and Saturday.
The Rivers Casino in
Rivers
Schenectady.
Casino in Schenectady, yep, at Duke's Chop House. And I play up actually at Panza's restaurant in Saratoga. It's an Italian restaurant just south of Broadway where like Route 50 and Route 9 meet up. Michael Panza, one of the owners, is a great singer. And we're doing it. I've been doing it with Dylan Perrillo and Graham Francis, who would be another great interviewee, by the way. Those are most of the regular ones. It's like I was saying, it's kind of random. It's all over the place, but yeah, those are the main ones. Those are the places that you can track me down.
Tyler, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Sarah. This is fun.
Thank you for listening to Six Count. I'm your host, Zara Wild, and that was Tyler Giroux. This show is listener supported. If you're interested in contributing to the project, you can find the link to our donations page on our website at sixcount.simplecast.com. Your support is greatly appreciated. You can let me know what you thought of the episode or who I should speak to next by emailing me. I'm at sixcountpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find me on Twitter at sixcountpodcast.